All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be breaking down the Sunday night showdown that we have between the Baltimore Ravens and the New England Patriots. I think the lines that we're getting for this game in terms of like point spread and game total are going to lead to some interesting DFS builds. So let's go ahead and start with that. But first, guys, real quickly, the hot streak continued into Thursday Night Football. We were able to hit Blake Corum for a touchdown as well as Ferguson for a touchdown. And then the sample build got the A.J. Barner late touchdown as well, which ended up being pretty good. Obviously, Puka Nacua went off as well as Matthew Stafford. Crazy good stretch that we have been on. Hopefully, you guys were able to take advantage of that and have been able to take advantage of that. Good stuff here, guys. We'll see, though, if this slate actually ends up being good stuff here as well. Apparently, the game total is 48.2 points, and I do think that that's pretty interesting. I personally would have thought it'd been closer to like 47.5 or even 47. That being said, the point spread as well in favor of the Ravens is also kind of interesting to me there as well. And so I actually kind of think it's tougher to build lineups that way because I do think that it is. I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring, and I would favor the Patriots then in that regard there as well. So interesting there. That does kind of change. Maybe like Derrick Henry's more in play basically. If it's going to be a high scoring game and if the Ravens are going to be the favorites here, like Derrick Henry's much more in play and much more appealing if that occurs. If that doesn't occur, then we could look at some of the backup running backs for the Ravens, and they're much more in play as well as all the pass catchers. And so I do think starting with the Ravens, the most important thing is really what to expect from Derrick Henry. He does draw a difficult matchup as well. And I kind of think the only way we are playing Derrick Henry at its price tag is really if we are playing him in the captain spot. I really don't mind the idea of doing that. And that's simply because if he's going off, he's going to be one of the top scorers on the slate. If he is not going off, he probably won't even be in the winning lineup like at all. It probably won't even be close. And so I think the best route to go with Derrick Henry is play him in the captain spot, or really don't play him at all. That sounds crazy to say, but I think that's kind of the best route to go. And if we are not playing him, Keaton Mitchell is a little bit interesting. He ended up having a pretty decent game last game, guys. Only 8 carries, though. We would need him to get a catch or two if he's really going to pay off this price tag. But he ended up outsnapping Derrick Henry in a game that was somewhat of a blowout, played him 40% of the snaps. We would need that again, but at the price tag, I do think it's in play. And if the Ravens are playing from behind, Ali is actually the player that's probably the most intriguing, especially from a value standpoint. Not exactly a lock and load play, but we do see he's gotten some points, scored a touchdown last week, a pretty impressive play for him. But yeah, if the Ravens are playing from behind, you can kind of script your lineups based off of that. And I really don't mind that idea. Another kind of interesting price play is going to be Rashad Bateman. Bateman was out last week. He's been dealing with a little bit of injuries here. He's just simply too cheap. Again, if you are not playing Derrick Henry, Bateman is kind of the clear and easy play here. The issue that I have with Bateman is that really I do think we want to be attacking the tight ends because that's kind of the weakness in the Patriots defense. But again, Bateman's just simply too cheap. We did see Des Walker play more last week with Bateman being out, but he didn't do much. He played in 66% of the snaps, did not do much. DeAndre Hopkins, although he's not playing much, guys, like he might only play in maybe 40% of the routes. But if he does that, he could hit value. Like he has been making some big plays. He's kind of a big playmaker for them. But overall, that seems unlikely to be able to predict that. And so with that, I do think we want to be looking at either Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely. I'm kind of leaning more towards Isaiah Likely, who last week did not do much in that game against Cincinnati, which has just been a phenomenal matchup for opposing tight ends. We just know, though, guys, it was a game against the Bengals where they were really just dominating them. And with some pick six and just bad turnovers, they didn't really need to throw the football. And so you get him in another good matchup. I think Likely is going to be the player that we want to get to the most. And then get into Lamar Jackson. Obviously, I do think we want to be playing Lamar Jackson. If he's going to rush the football a little bit more, that's also appealing to me there. Not necessarily must play, which I do find interesting there just with his price tag. And then Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers has been a stud, guys. Basically every game lately has been over double-digit points, minus the game against Cincinnati somewhat recently. Still had 7 targets in that game. He's been a big playmaker. He kind of almost falls into the category, though, of Derrick Henry as well, where if you're playing him, you're almost playing him in the captain spot or being underweight on him in the flex spot because you're either saying he's going to score a touchdown and have a big game, or he might do this 11 or so DFS points. And if he does that, might not actually end up being enough. And so the tough part about the Ravens is that no one's like a standout play on paper. Whereas we go into the Patriots and we almost have too many interesting plays. Okay, so let's start out with talking about the running backs, Travion Henderson and Rhamondre Stevenson. First and foremost, I think the price difference that we're getting is pretty darn crazy. Stevenson outsnapped Henderson in the last game, and Stevenson did not look bad. He continues to not look I wouldn't say he's looked bad this whole season. They're just being used in different ways. That being said, obviously Henderson is clearly the better playmaker. Okay, that's for sure. We're not doubting that. I kind of do think you definitely have to start giving Henderson more work than Stevenson. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if Stevenson gets a short yardage touchdown in this game. And at this price tag, for someone that could give us 10 opportunities with a decent chance to end up scoring a touchdown, I really don't mind that. And let's just take a peek at the projections, guys. So like the projection data only has him at about four projected points. So it's not like, or sorry, that's Keenan Mitchell. Sorry, Stevenson. Okay, I was gonna say that's not right. No, Henderson. All right, this makes so much more. 8.5 points. And so you look at the pricing difference, guys. I actually think that Stevenson becomes a little bit more appealing than Henderson. Now this is for the full slate, the salary that we're getting here, guys. But in regards to showdown, Stevenson is going to be the better value then in that regard, okay, because of the pricing difference. Now, don't get me wrong, Stevenson's a fine play. I think we could actually get away with playing both of them in a build, and then the issue would become that we're not necessarily getting to a lot of the Patriots pass catchers. But I do like Stevenson a decent amount. I think that could end up being a decent leverage opportunity. I am doing this before we're really going to get any ownership projections as an FY, guys. It's a little bit of a shorter work week for me with the holidays. Thankfully for you guys, I'll be able to put out a lot of Christmas content as well, so be on the lookout for that for NBA and NFL. But yeah, just given the price, I think we can get to him. I really don't mind the kicker here for the Patriots as well, but I want to talk about the receivers because it is a little bit of a guessing game. I do think if we're doing lineups, we do want to set a rule where we are trying to get to at least, and maybe even exactly, but at least one of Matt Collins, Booty, and Henry in the flex. Hunter Henry in the flex. I don't know if we necessarily need to expand upon that. Maybe you guys are going to want to get to Diggs, but I think we get to these three, and let me edit this. I don't need Hunter Henry in the captain. We'll do Hunter Henry in the flex, and that's kind of the key. I don't think we need to play any of them in the captain. Maybe we would want to get to Hunter Henry in the captain a little bit, just betting on him to score a touchdown, but I really don't think we need to do that. But that's just a bet on which one's going to end up having a pretty big game and maybe end up scoring a touchdown. It has been a little bit more random is my point there. Okay, we've seen Booty have some pretty big games. He's a little bit touchdown dependent, but they all are touchdown dependent, guys. Like Hunter Henry does draw a difficult matchup here, but maybe ends up scoring a touchdown and gets us to like 17 points. I do think that could end up being enough. I don't know if we necessarily see like a true cap go off. I would say the most likely player to go off would be Henderson, who again continues to look good. I do think we want to be playing him in our builds, but kind of the tough part is I want to be playing Drake May as well. And so this doesn't correlate as well. Drake May with the two running backs doesn't correlate at all, but I do really like into Drake May. What's interesting, guys, is Lamar Jackson's has a 52% likelihood to throw for 2 passing touchdowns, whereas Drake May, it's the exact opposite, has like a 52% chance to not throw for 2 touchdowns, which I just found interesting there. Maybe it's due to Stevenson and Henderson being appealing, but like this doesn't correlate. But I really like the lineups we can do with this, where we can get to Bateman, and I feel like this is actually a pretty strong build overall in terms of just like raw point production, which again, kind of referring back to some of the builds I've given you guys, that's kind of been able to work out recently. So I'm just going to go ahead and generate 20 lineups here, guys. Need to get off of the running backs here and just see what it spits out to us as the top builds. And so we got Jackson, May, Flowers, Andrews, Hollins, and Bateman. Really not a bad lineup. I do think we want to begin to at least one of Stevenson and also Henderson in our builds. That could actually be a rule that we set as well, because I do think there's a good chance one of them are having a good game. And I do think that actually ends up being a pretty darn good rule to add in there. And I think we could do them in the captain or in the flex as well, guys. Either way, I think that just ends up being a pretty good route for us to go in terms of like generating lineups. But that'll do it for the video, guys. Make sure to leave a like on your way up, subscribe to the channel as well. If you guys would like access to that NFL DFS lineup optimizer or the DraftKings cheat sheet, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to those 2 tools plus all the other tools available on the website for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Appreciate you guys. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.